at the camera, looking all over the place.
How are you, my friend? How is everything? Very good. Not bad, not bad. My wife, Melinda.
I occupied your position once.
You did?
You know, Martin and I set up the office man.
Yes, but
Esteemed ambassadors to the OAS, delegates from the 32 member states, and honored guests, welcome to Antigua and Barbuda on behalf of the people and government of Antigua and Barbuda. I'm Jamila Kirwan, your chair for this evening, and we are deeply honored to have you with us in our little bit of paradise. Even though you've left your homes, you have come to another home in the Americas. So our house is your house. And I just learned this evening. Nuestra casa es su casa. Did I do that well? Thanks. As you entered the auditorium, you were serenaded by the vibrant rhythms of the Hell's Gate Steel Orchestra. And they are one of Antigua and Barbuda's oldest steel orchestras. And we thank them for that stirring accompaniment. Please give them a round of applause. I now invite the heads of delegations of the member states to take their places at the conference table in the order of the Spanish alphabet. And we begin with Antigua and Barbuda. Argentina, Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, Bolivia, Brazil, Canada, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Dominica, Ecuador, El Salvador, the United States of America, Grenada, Guatemala, Guyana, Haiti, Honduras, Jamaica, Mexico, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, Dominican Republic, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago, Uruguay, and now we welcome to the stage the principal participants in this evening's opening ceremony. Please welcome His Excellency, Mr. Nestor Mendez, Assistant Secretary General of the OAS. And now, in his first appearance as Secretary General since his election in March this year, we welcome His Excellency, Mr. Albert Ramdin. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, the host government of this General Assembly, the Honorable Mr. Gaston Brown. I should have asked you to remain standing. Ladies and gentlemen, we invite you to stand as we welcome the Governor General's Deputy of Antigua and Barbuda, His Excellency, Sir Claire Roberts. Please remain standing. Please remain standing for the national anthem of Antigua and Barbuda. Our national anthem was performed on steel pans, locally known here in Antigua and Barbuda as pans, by 4 panists. And please give them a round of applause. Thank you very much. And as our panists leave, please take your seat. Ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed to the essential addresses that will frame the essence of this assembly, we wish to share a taste of Antiguan and Barbudan culture with you. It's called A Taste of Antigua, just a little taste. And it's a cultural dance and vocal presentation that showcases our rich heritage, rhythms, and traditions, celebrating African, British, and Caribbean influences through colorful costumes and lively movements. This performance reflects the joyous spirit of our people and offers a momentary journey into the heartbeat of Antigua and Barbuda. Please relax and enjoy glimpses of our culture presented by the elite dancers, accompanied by Claudette C.P. Peters and Mr. Lincoln Blade Stanislaus.
Like the beaches, wrapped your eyes in blue and white. Boy, my love for you will take you through the night.
I'll be your angel, it will be my privilege to keep you from falling into any devil's bridge.
Just like my 2 islands in the sun.
Oh, we are one, our love is one. And in the darkyard of my arms, you may birth your tender tongue. 2 people, inseparable, one couple, inseparable. I see springs in the mountain, feeding pineapple sucklings. I see Atlantic and Caribbean oceans blend.
As we walk through rainforests, on shady heights, steal a big kiss, turn so that my everyone will taste us friends.
When evening fades to light of mystic rays,
Your love flows like sand on the canal.
with a song, like a pepper pot I'm boiling all day long, like the night you islands in the sun. Oh, we are one. Our love is born, and in the darkyard of my arms, you may birth your tender tongue to people inseparable. One power, inseparable.
Soca, sweet soca, eat soca. Live soca, love soca, need soca. My soca, your soca, we soca. Breathe soca, sweet soca, eat soca. Live soca, love soca, need soca. My soca, your soca, we soca. Breathe soca, sweet soca, eat soca. Live soca, love soca, need soca. My soca, your soca, we soca. Me soca, sweet soca.
Let me introduce you to happy music. You will feel this deep in your soul. Once you catch a smoke, you will never lose it. It will touch you young and the old. We don't know, no we don't know. Man, we just party for days and days without no sleep. We so loyal, yeah we so loyal. Everywhere in the world, soca lovers and meet. It's going to be one big party.
I'm from a land of iron and vine, somewhere that I tell the whole world about. A place that party morning and night. If you can't keep up, then you get out. With a hurricane, it could be a drought. On the road, our mission we are carry out. Big energy when I'm running out. I can't wait on that day. Welcome to Antigua. These people have no behavior, they have no behavior. Welcome to Antigua. You know it's danger, you know it's danger. When it comes to mass in Wonderland, we don't know love can be balanced so badly. Can't get enough. Welcome to Antigua Mass. These people have no behavior, they have no behavior.
What would any conference be without getting just a little bit of the greatest summer festival in the Caribbean, Antigua's Carnival? Please give the elite dancers, our masqueraders, and of course, Claudette C.P. Peters and Lincoln Blade Stanislaus another round of applause for a little taste of Antigua. And just a little fun fact about Claudette C.P. Peters and Lincoln Blade Stanislaus. The genre of music you were just listening to is called soca, and that is our music. And those two, Blade and CP, they are our top soca performers in Antigua and Barbuda. So you just got a little bit of Antigua's Carnival. Another round of applause, please. And now we get back to the seriousness of it all. Distinguished heads of delegation, esteemed delegates, and honored guests, we now welcome His Excellency, Mr. Albert Ramdin, to make his inaugural address to an OAS General Assembly as Secretary General.
Yeah, with that performance, I'm not sure if you want to listen to me. But I'm very pleased to be here. Let me recognize Sir Claire Roberts. Good to see you, Governor General Deputy and spouse. The Honorable Gaston Brown, Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda. Members of the Cabinet of Antigua and Barbuda. Distinguished members, heads of delegations, ministers, distinguished permanent representatives, Assistant Secretary General Ambassador Nestor Mendes, distinguished permanent observers, colleagues from international and regional organizations, staff members of the Organization of American States, ladies and gentlemen all. Good evening. Tonight, at midnight, it will be exactly 1 month after I assumed this position. Exactly. So you understand my pleasure and that we are deeply honored to address today you as member states of the Organization of American States, as the 13th and first Caribbean Secretary General of the Organization of American States, and to participate in this 55th regular session of the General Assembly. I wish to put on record our deep appreciation to the government and the people of Antigua and Barbuda, land of 365 beaches, everyday one, for their warm hospitality and for hosting this General Assembly, the first held in a Caribbean country since 2002. By convening us here, Antigua and Barbuda reaffirms their national commitment to the principles and the goals of the Organization of American States, and reminds us as well of the key role every member state must play in advancing our shared goals and common priorities. I would like to commend Antigua and Barbuda for selecting the theme for this conference, this General Assembly, Building Resilient, Inclusive Economies in the Americas. This theme captures both a shared hemispheric aspiration and a concrete commitment to advancing the well-being of our people. It also underscores the need for renewed collective action at a time when growth, resilience, and inclusivity are more than just ideals, but rather imperatives for survival and progress. I thank our host for convening the event earlier today on Uniting for Mental Health, an issue too often neglected, yet one that intersects every pillar of our work. Our citizens' well-being must remain central, not only in moments of crisis, but as a constant driver of our efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Prime Minister, we live in unpredictable and uncertain times. We observe a weakening of the decade-long commitment to global cooperation on the basis of international law and a rule-based international architecture. The global context, marked by geopolitical tensions, socioeconomic volatilities, and rapidly evolving technologies, demonstrates the challenging and complex world we live in today. The international community faces not only violent conflicts in different regions, but also profound challenges to democratic governance and the sometimes unforeseen and worrisome impact of transformative technologies. Escalation of recent military actions in the Middle East and the ongoing conflicts must be avoided at all costs. In a world with many deep-rooted challenges, maintenance of peace and security is critical. We call for de-escalation and restraint, as parties must move to diplomatic and peaceful means for resolving this conflict. Ladies and gentlemen, we are a hemisphere defined by remarkable diversity in geography, language, culture, and history, and much more. This diversity coexists alongside a profound convergence of purpose and offers opportunities for progress. Today, the Americas stand at complex crossroads. Political, economic, security and human rights, and climate change-related challenges are interconnected and mutually reinforcing forces which test the foundations of democratic governance and the strength of our institutions. Within our region, long-standing inequalities and rising violence have compounded distrust in democratic processes. At the same time, transnational organized crime, climate vulnerability, and uneven economic growth continue to strain our societies. Respect for and adherence to democratic principles, rule of law, and human rights, accompanied by sound financial and economic policies, must be demonstrated in furtherance of building a just and fair, a peaceful, prosperous, and equitable society for all. To be successful, a holistic and whole-of-society approach is essential. The OAS, as an institution in its new dispensation, stands ready to work with governments, inter-American institutions, civil society, and private sector to create a democratic, prosperous, and secure hemisphere. Ladies and gentlemen, democratic backsliding, economic inequality, and human rights violations are increasingly intertwined with a deteriorating security landscape. Transnational organized crime stands as a primary driver of violence, institutional fragility, and contested territorial control across the Americas. The path towards institutional strength and security in the Americas depends on addressing the region's development challenges as well. Economic stagnation and inequality continue to undermine institutional capacity, fuel political instability, and create the conditions in which violence and organized crime flourish. However, ladies and gentlemen, it is my firm belief that this is the time we, as a united hemisphere, must chart our own future away from this course. Let us recognize that through our hemispheric multilateral system, we possess not only the expertise and collective resolve, but also the institutional architecture to effectively respond to these challenges. The OAS has developed many initiatives that make meaningful contributions across each of these areas, and I'll mention some of those. The strengthening of our electoral systems and processes, and thereby the democratic foundations of our countries, has been at the core of the OAS work. We are grateful to those member states and permanent observers that have supported our missions over the years. We also, however, need deeper engagement by those countries that receive OAS missions but do not yet provide the tangible support that allows them to take place. The OAS plays a broader role in strengthening democratic institutions across the hemisphere. Through a range of country-specific missions and technical cooperation initiatives, we support member states in addressing complex governance challenges. Equally recognized are our efforts in the human rights realm, which have been recently streamlined. The Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, the most well-known organ of the OAS, has identified a series of troubling trends across the region, most notably, and I'll mention some, increasingly frequent suspension of constitutional guarantees in response to insecurity caused by organized crime, a notable shrinking civic space, disproportionate use of public force against protests, and a growingly hostile environment for human rights defenders. We must also be wary of a notable rise in hate speech, misinformation, infringements of basic human rights, and marginalized groups. The Human Rights Commission has become the inter-American conscience, the voice we need to hear, even when it at times is uncomfortable. In 2024 alone, 123 merit reports were approved, a record number in the history of the Inter-American Human Rights Commission. In the area of multidimensional security, the OAS has deepened its support to member states through training, technical assistance, and community-based initiatives aimed at responding to the region's evolving threats. Just last year alone, over 21,000 individuals were trained or directly supported in areas such as landmine clearance, victim assistance, police professionalization, cybersecurity, and drug policy. While not a financing for development institution, the OAS plays a vital role in advancing sustainable development and prosperity across the Americas through technical cooperation, capacity building, policy dialogue, and strategic partnerships. The Inter-American Development Bank, amongst other regional banks, sub-regional development financing institutions, commercial banks, and foundations are our partners supporting sustainable and green development. Over the past year, and in collaboration with other organizations, the OAS awarded over 2,400 scholarships, trained 38,000 people in digital skills, supported women entrepreneurs in 9 member states, and provided more than 2,600 training opportunities for port personnel. Just a few details about the value of the OAS to our membership. Ladies and gentlemen, none of these efforts in advancing the OAS core mission in democracy, human rights, security, and development would be possible without the contributions of member states and permanent observers. In 2024, in addition to their regular contributions, member states provided $51 million in voluntary contributions, and our permanent observers and other international partners contributed close to $26 million. These contributions, in our view, are testimony to the ongoing commitment of our strategic partners with our shared objectives. And I do intend to broaden, to deepen, and intensify this partnership, for which we will convene a special session before year-end. I strongly believe in the remarkable work the OAS and its dedicated and highly professional staff carries out. But in the face of today's complex challenges, there is always room to do more, to do better, and make sure we all showcase the good that is being done. This excellent narrative of the OAS as the premier multilateral intergovernmental platform in the Americas and the Caribbean must be told and shared. We cannot fulfill our mission by relying solely on past practices or acting in isolation. It cannot be business as usual anymore. This does not immediately require drastic overhauls, but rather a renewed commitment to working effectively within the framework of the Charter, the mandates, and the instruments adopted by the member states. And as we look ahead to building a stronger OAS, we must deepen the work on democracy and human rights in several key areas. Moving forward, we will expand this work to include enhanced collaboration with regional parliamentary forums, subnational governments, and other democratic institutions. The OAS School of Governance will be much more empowered. This flagship initiative provides training to public officials, political leaders, civil society, and community organizations to strengthen transparency, accountability, and civic participation. The OAS must become a trusted space where countries can come not for judgment or sanctions, but for open and frank dialogue, meaningful collaboration, mutual understanding of different vantage points, and ultimately with the aim to find solutions and move forward as a stronger community in unity. We will work to expand our role in mediation and dialogue, fostering spaces where differing perspectives can be heard and peaceful solutions achieved. To facilitate that vision, we have to be, first of all, in the same room where these conflicts arise, around the same table. If there is no dialogue or other types of diplomatic engagement, nor any form of interaction, we will never succeed in resolving critical problems. While emerging technologies, such as artificial intelligence, offer opportunities to enhance the OAS's effectiveness, they also present risks, including labor displacement, algorithm bias, disinformation, and deepened inequalities. In fact, the digital divide is becoming a driver of exclusion, particularly for already marginalized communities. Together with relevant institutions and the private sector, the OAS must play a prominent role in assisting member states expand affordable internet access, promote digital literacy, and build public-private partnerships that bring emerging technologies to underserved populations. We can also support governments in crafting inclusive AI strategies and rights-based digital governance frameworks. To respond effectively to today's multidimensional and fast-evolving security threats, the OAS must function as both a political forum and as an operational hub in the fight against transnational organized crime. In this regard, we need to reinvigorate our institutional architecture. It is crucial that we reassess, optimize, and streamline the programs and make use of mechanisms already in place. The recently adopted Central American and Dominican Republic Firearms Roadmap provides a model for aligning national priorities and enhancing cross-border collaboration, and should expand to deepen sub-regional coordination. To drive economic growth that is inclusive, sustainable, and resilient, we must prioritize expanding trade and investment among ourselves, strengthening small and medium-sized enterprises, competitiveness, and advancing coordinated action on climate and energy. Because MSEs are the backbone of our economies, we will work with partners and specialized semi-autonomous OAS entities on enhancing access to finance, technical assistance, and business development services. Intra-regional trade and connectivity will be stimulated through supporting local businesses with tools and training to meet international standards. With regard to climate and energy, we will mobilize access to green financing mechanisms, promote early warning systems and climate-smart agriculture, and invest in disaster preparedness to strengthen resilience and protect ecosystems and food security. We must make good use of the proposals made in this regard, such as the Bridgetown Initiative. Regional strategies for sustainable energy integration and a just transition will be key to delivering long-term impact. Ladies and gentlemen, the task before us is immense, and these goals will not be achieved overnight. What matters most is that we acknowledge our realities and set our sights on the future based on a common agenda. In order to achieve this revitalized vision, we are advancing a comprehensive approach grounded in mutually reinforcing strategies. First, we are strengthening partnerships with multilateral institutions, regional organizations, the private sector, and civil society to build collective capacities. Second, we are modernizing the organization from within, streamlining operations, improving coordination and communication, and reinforcing financial sustainability. Third, we are enhancing our media outreach, ensuring that the people of the Americas are aware of the good that is and can be done by the Organization of American States. This will include more frequent engagement with the media, schools, universities, and communities and other relevant stakeholders in the societies of the Americas. In this modernization and change agenda, the OAS does not stand alone, and we do not want and cannot stand alone. We need the support of member states to increase the efficiency of the political functions of the organization. We need to mobilize more technical and financial resources, and we need to align mandates with our inter-American partners. Building resilience across the Americas requires collective resolve and coordinated action. This is why we are relaunching strategic partnerships and institutional dialogue across the broader inter-American system, including regional development banks, permanent observers, the private sector, and civil society. This collaborative approach seeks to turn shared challenges into lasting economic growth and inclusive progress, fully aligned with the theme of the 55th OAS General Assembly. In this spirit, I must inform you that I met twice since my election on the 10th of March with the heads of the IDB, the Pan American Health Organization, and ICA to identify areas of synergy and agree to develop a joint agenda for the future of the Americas, a framework to guide and align our efforts moving forward. In the future, we will also advance an active agenda to deepen collaboration with other key sub-regional organizations. We will also promote people-to-people connections, including language and cultural exchanges, to foster greater cooperation and understanding and unity throughout the region. Our own museum and library are underutilized tools in our closet. Meaningful engagement also entails, ladies and gentlemen, deepening our relations with organizations and individuals that reflect the rich diversity of our hemisphere, including indigenous peoples, peoples of African descent, LGBTI+ communities, youth, and migrants, to ensure their voices are not only heard, but meaningfully shape our hemispheric agenda. At the same time, advancing gender equality must remain a cross-cutting priority, not just a moral imperative, but a practical solution to the region's most pressing needs. Women are central to the strength, resilience, and future of our countries. We are launching a renewed partnership with the private sector across the Americas. This partnership is based on the recognition that the defense of democracy begins with acknowledging that people also have the right to work, live in safety, and access to a dignified future. By aligning business leadership with long-term development goals and democratic values, the private sector can become a strategic partner in building peace and shared prosperity for the people of the Americas. To make all of this a reality, it has become apparent to us since my election a mere 3 months ago that we need to strengthen ourselves from within. As such, we are in the midst of undertaking internal efficiency assessments to eliminate counterproductive bureaucracy and ensure our structures are streamlined and aligned with the organization's priorities moving forward. In this spirit, we began with a seemingly simple but essential step, establishing simply regular cabinet meetings. These meetings not only capture insights from technical areas based on their work in the field, but also serve as a forum to define strategic priorities that are translated into action across the organization. But internal cohesion demands more than meetings. That is also why we have launched a broader institutional effort to dismantle silos, foster cross-departmental collaboration, enhance communication, and streamline operations to improve our overall effectiveness. Within the OAS General Secretariat, a revised organizational structure is being compiled to deliver on the needs of our stakeholders, being the member states. The objective is to deliver an organizational chart that reflects our aspirations for efficiency and focused on our strategic priorities: human rights, representative democracy and political affairs, security, and integral development. We are also reinstating full-time in-person work. As an international organization, we must bring our teams together physically to strengthen collaboration, to reinforce institutional culture, and renew our shared sense of purpose. Furthermore, I believe that it is also important that our staff is comprised of members representing all member states, regardless of the prevailing language. Many of these measures are aligned with the findings of the recent external evaluation of the OAS. Member states invested in this process, and they rightfully expect to see concrete follow-up on its recommendations. At the same time, the evaluation also underscored a critical point. Financial sustainability is not a marginal concern. Adequate funding is essential to preserving the organization's success. Without a solid foundation, financial foundation, the OAS cannot fulfill its mandate or respond effectively to the evolving needs of our region. Our budget should be based on a rational and prioritized articulation of what is required to operate effectively and the financing strategy to meet those needs. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me at this moment to address a matter which is and always has been, certainly for me as a CARICOM national, very near and dear to me. The state of play in our member state, founding member state, the Republic of Haiti. To solve the problems in Haiti, all the four pillars are at the core of the OAS, work in the coming months. Over the past months, we have intensified our consultations with a broad range of stakeholders, most notably the United Nations, partners of the Inter-American System, representatives of the CARICOM Eminent Persons Group, and members of the Transitional Presidential Council, amongst others, to help identify realistic pathways towards stability and development in Haiti. Haiti's crisis demands a holistic and comprehensive response. We are working hard with the team to develop a sequenced, multidimensional roadmap structured in critical segments and components. Security in its different manifestations, humanitarian assistance, political consensus building towards a future political and economic agenda, the holding of elections, and intensifying economic development efforts. Those are the 5 pillars in this roadmap which we will develop. Ultimately, the objective is to assist, under Haitian leadership, a prospect of long-term stability and effective governance. Haiti's path forward, ladies and gentlemen, depends on political renewal, mitigating security, and economic stabilization. At the heart of this roadmap lies coordination and finance. Within its remit and the Charter provisions, the OAS, together with global and regional partners, is prepared to play a constructive role in facilitating the required coordination. This year, the Summit of the Americas will be convened, and I wish to make use of this moment to commend the leadership of the Dominican Republic, particularly President Luis Abinader and Minister Roberto Alvarez, for hosting the upcoming summit in Punta Cana. The theme of this summit, building a secure and sustainable hemisphere with shared prosperity, along with its focus on citizen, energy, food, and water security, could not be more timely. It reinforces the vision we have advanced across every area of our agenda. This summit must be embraced, in our view, as a pivotal moment to relaunch our shared hemispheric agenda toward a more united, responsive, forward-looking, and integrated security and development strategy for the Americas. So, ladies and gentlemen, in closing, I want to reiterate that the task before us is immense. Yet, so is the strength of this inter-American community when we act with unity and resolve. The conversations we have begun here are not merely institutional, they are generational. We must be clear-eyed about the road ahead. Political polarization, transnational organized crime, inequality, and climate disruption will continue to test the resilience of our societies and the legitimacy of our institutions. But we must also be confident. These challenges can be overcome with determination, collaboration, and a renewed sense of shared responsibility. The vision which we aspire to is one of ambition, of renewal, and of delivery. That vision is reflected in the actions we are already taking to modernize the OAS, to strengthen internal coordination, to deepen strategic partnerships, and to ensure greater financial sustainability. They are essential steps towards creating a more effective, credible, and responsive organization. In that spirit, I call on all member states to fully support the modernization and change agenda, and to take an active role in building the future of this organization. We are a community with a shared future and a shared responsibility to shape it. Our citizens are counting on us to lead with conviction and with results. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us leave this General Assembly, this 55th General Assembly in Antigua and Barbuda, with a renewed purpose and remain a hemisphere in peace. Therefore, I wish all of us a very productive, constructive, forward-looking General Assembly. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Secretary General Mr. Ramdin, for your insightful inaugural presentation. And I see that you're also very au fait with one of our oldest tourism sales pitches, 365 white sandy beaches, one for every day of the year. That's our story. We're sticking to it. And if it rains while you're here, don't consider it rain. It's actually liquid sunshine. The holding of this General Assembly in Antigua and Barbuda was the brainchild of our Prime Minister, the Honorable Gaston Brown. And we are delighted that he has joined us this evening to deliver the feature address, formally opening the General Assembly. I now invite the Honorable Prime Minister to address us, Prime Minister Gaston Brown.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Chair Lady. I acknowledge Sir Claire Roberts, our Governor General's Deputy, and Lady Roberts, ministers, heads of delegation, distinguished colleagues, and friends from across the hemisphere. I am delighted to welcome you all to Antigua and Barbuda. Your presence here for the 55th regular session of the Organization of American States is a powerful affirmation of our shared commitment to confront the urgent problems before us. This assembly is not a mere formality. It is an imperative. At a moment when multiple crises confront each of us and all of us, we cannot afford isolationism or narrow nationalism. No nation, however large or small, affluent or emerging, can overcome these challenges in solitude. The lesson of the COVID-19 pandemic remains vivid. A virus respects no wall, bypasses every checkpoint, and ignores every travel ban. Likewise, illicit drugs weave their way through our communities, transnational criminal networks exploit our vulnerabilities, and the devastation of climate change spares no nation. These are not distant threats confined to a single capital or hinterland. They are shared crises that demand collective action, mutual support, and unwavering collaboration. This evening, as we convene, let us reaffirm this indisputable truth. By standing together, pooling our resources, our ideas, and our resolve, we can better and more effectively safeguard democracy, protect human rights, and secure a sustainable future for all our peoples. Moreover, in an era of great power competition, our region must foster international engagement that takes the form of cooperation rather than rivalry. When major economies work together, instead of erecting barriers, they unlock shared prosperity, driving innovation, investment, and trade that lift all partners. A collaborative approach would enable large states to address global challenges more effectively, while ensuring that Latin American and Caribbean countries benefit fully from technological transfers, infrastructure financing, and certainly market access. Let us urge every partner to set aside zero-sum thinking and embrace a spirit of partnership, one that recognizes our hemisphere not as a battleground for influence, but as a bridge to mutual growth and sustainable development. Distinguished delegates, we are reminded of the sacred charge in Article 1 of the OAS Charter to strengthen peace and security, to promote solidarity among the states, and to ensure justice and independence of nations. It is in this very spirit that we as peace practitioners continue to advocate for global peace and the cessation of all wars. Conflicts in the Middle East are not distant events. They have an impact on peace and stability worldwide, as well as on prices and logistics. We are all adversely affected by them, with a disproportionate impact on small, vulnerable states like Antigua and Barbuda. In this context, we must all echo the call for an immediate ceasefire in all theaters, as urged by President Donald Trump and the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. When such leading voices converge for peace, how can we remain silent in the face of suffering? Equally, in the interest of all humanity, we must insist that the Treaty on Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons be fully respected as a cornerstone of international peace and security. And there must be continuous verification by the International Atomic Energy Agency with full access by its inspectors. Terrorism in all its forms must end, and peace must prevail. My dear friends, we confront equally urgent challenges closer to home. The most urgent is climate change. Small island developing states, despite negligible contributions to global emissions, bear disproportionate costs from rising seas, stronger storms, coastal erosion, and ecological disruption. Climate change is the existential crisis at our doorstep. From rising sea levels to intensifying storms, every facet of life in the Americas is under assault. You have all had an opportunity to see the attractiveness of Antigua, our white sand beaches, our alluring turquoise waters, our radiant sunshine, and our friendly people. Hopefully, you have also witnessed our development and infrastructure, our modern airport, our burgeoning housing, and our thriving commercial sector, understanding how we have built a welcoming home for tourists, a stable democracy for our citizens, and a people who contribute meaningfully to human society and the global community. Now, imagine returning here after decades of unchecked global warming, only to find the island unrecognizable, its charm and quality washed away, or worse, sunk beneath the sea. Just imagine. That is a stark reality we face if climate change continues at its galloping pace. This is why we are fighting climate change unrelentingly. And for us, climate change is real. We are fighting for our homeland, for our civilization, for our very soul. Because we are small, we may be the first victims of this crisis, but our fate will be a harbinger of devastation that will visit every nation in the Americas in its own measure. That is why we all have an obligation to our future generations to act now, to slash greenhouse gas emissions, to invest massively in renewable energy and resilient infrastructure, and to insist that the world's largest emitters provide the compensatory finance and technology we need. Only by doing so, we can ensure that with future visits to these shores, you return not to ruins, but to the same beauty, prosperity, and boundless hope you experience today. Member states of the OAS, acting together, can urgently forge a unified political response to this environmental crisis. I urge you to do so and to do so now. As climate threatens our shores, mental health also now imperils our societies. Antigua and Barbuda was proud to lead the drafting and negotiation of the resolution on addressing the critical mental health crisis in the Americas, which this Assembly will consider for adoption. We believe its passage is vital for every society and economy across our hemisphere. Why? Because mental illness is no abstraction. It drives untold human suffering and exacts a profound economic toll. Every day, more than 10 adolescents die by suicide, and 16 million young people live with mental disorders, costing our economies over $30 billion annually in lost productivity and social services. PAHO data indicate that roughly 47.2% of adults with mental health disorders in North America receive no adequate care. Now, interestingly, that figure jumps to a staggering 77.9% in Latin America and the Caribbean. These numbers should alarm us all. This resolution before the General Assembly affirms that mental health is as essential as physical health, and that by investing 5% of our health budgets in mental health services, we can avert far greater costs in human lives and economic loss. By adopting this resolution, we signal that no longer will mental health sufferers dwell in the shadows. Tonight, I urge us to banish the stigma that has pushed so many to the margins of human existence. Instead, let us make achieving mental health a cornerstone of human progress in our societies. As we confront health and climate challenges, we must also acknowledge a long-neglected reality. We've underestimated our capacity to transform ourselves and unite in building strong, resilient, and inclusive economies across the Americas. Our hemisphere's greatest assets, over 1 billion people, and rich energy and digital technology sectors could make us the world's most prosperous region. I have no doubt about that. By dismantling trade barriers, building transport and broadband corridors, and harmonizing regulations, we can unlock this promise. Let us make it happen. The OAS, uniquely empowered to convene governments, business, labor, and civil society, should launch a Bridge to Prosperity initiative to forge infrastructure and partnerships that unlock our shared potential. In the margins of this General Assembly, I hope our governments and the Secretary General will begin to explore this vital work and ignite a spark that can fuel such an ambitious endeavor. At the same time, we cannot ignore the scourge of transnational organized crime. Secretary General spoke to this issue extensively. Throughout our hemisphere, criminal networks trafficking drugs, weapons, and human beings are undermining governance and stifling development. In Haiti, gang alliances now control over 85% of Port-au-Prince, displacing more than 1 million people and driving a humanitarian catastrophe. Compounding this crisis is the unchecked flow of firearms from manufacturing centers in our hemisphere, which feeds violence and crime across our cities and rural communities. When guns cross borders without adequate controls, homicides spike. Spikes law enforcement resources strained and are unable to keep pace, and entire neighborhoods are emptied of hope. To curb this trend, every state, producer or recipient must strengthen export and import controls, mandate transparency, and enforce strict prohibitive penalties for illicit arms transfers. Neglecting this responsibility means tolerating bloodshed, eroding public trust in institutions, and compromising our ability to foster safe and prosperous societies. Likewise, irregular migration and refugee flows exert further strain on our societies. Crises have prompted thousands to seek refuge across borders, overwhelming host countries' capacities, promoting anti-immigrant sentiments, and testing our collective solidarity. This is why our policies must protect human dignity and foster durable solutions. In this connection, regional coordination on migration and asylum is essential if we are to uphold the value of solidarity and the pillar of human rights that define the Organization of American States, OAS. At the same time, democracy faces fresh assaults across the hemisphere. We are witnessing a troubling retreat from multilateralism, a growing disdain for rule-based order, and the rise of tyrannical forces that threaten to corrode the institutions we hold dear. Disinformation spreads rapidly on digital platforms, promoting divisions and eroding public trust. Now is the time to reaffirm our defense of democratic principles, to combat hate speech, and to stand united against any attempt to disregard the rule of law. In this fractured environment, the Organization of American States remains indispensable. Without this institution, we would lose the only hemispheric forum where democracies convene to defend human rights, consolidate peace, advance development, and pursue shared prosperity. We would be poorer for the absence of dialogue, collaboration, and mutual respect. Yet, we must also recognize that the OAS's history includes both missteps and achievements, moments of paralysis and moments of bold action. Drawing on the past errors and successes with equal candor, we must summon the will to abandon harmful practices, replicate proven strategies, and chart a course befitting these challenging times. We have unanimously elected Secretary General Albert Ramdin, the first national of a CARICOM country to head our organization. By so doing, OAS member states acknowledge the worth and contributions of the CARICOM group of the organization. Yet, we know that Secretary General Ramdin inherits an organization that is under-resourced and understaffed. However, for him to meet the challenges before us, the OAS must be strengthened, not weakened. So, let us be blunt. Today's OAS budget falls short. Staffing levels lag behind mounting demands in areas such as countering organized crime, cooperation in curbing drug trafficking, tackling cybercrime, and promoting international cooperation. Competing national political agendas have too often prevented consensus on resource allocation. We call on all member states to honor their commitments promptly and to empower the OAS Secretariat to respond rapidly to crises, from democratic backsliding to protecting the human rights of every citizen in our hemisphere. Antigua and Barbuda hosts this 55th regular session because we believe in the OAS's potential as our region's convening force. Let our deliberations this week ignite a new era of cooperation, shared responsibility, and mutual respect. Let us confront organized crime not through isolation, but through collective resolve and partnership. Above all, let us empower this organization, our unique hemispheric forum, to remain agile, resourceful, and unwavering in its mission to uplift every citizen of the Americas. As we open this General Assembly, may the flame of solidarity light up our path and rekindle our shared purpose. Antigua and Barbuda welcomes you all with open arms and hopeful hearts. May wisdom guide your decisions, courage strengthen your resolve, and a commitment to non-discrimination and justice guide our people to a bright and prosperous future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister, for your inspiring and insightful remarks, which have provided this Assembly with a valuable perspective on the future of the people of the Americas. And before we close, I just felt the need to acknowledge several students from across Antigua and Barbuda would like to commend the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for welcoming our young people to a forum such as this. Please stand. May I have your seat? If the children are the future, then it starts at this level. Thank you so much for joining us today. And ladies and gentlemen, I now have the great pleasure of bringing these formal proceedings to a close. On behalf of the people and government of Antigua and Barbuda, I invite you to join us at a reception on the lawns outside this building. So thank you all very much for your presence, your attention, and your commitment to our shared endeavors in the Americas. Have a good evening. I'm Jamila Kirwan.
I tell you, I need to talk.